Hi, this is Elizabeth Klee with TV 36. I'm here today with Superintendent Ed Grande and Board of Ed Vice President Tom Lewis. And we're here today to talk to you about something you may have heard about, but to give you more information and more of the facts. And that is that the Clark School District recently won a grant, or was awarded a grant, for all-day preschool, and it will be starting in 2025. Yes, seriously, in January of 2025. So we're going to talk a little about that. I have some questions for them that I'm sure you're thinking about. But before I do that, Tom, I'm going to go to you first. Maybe since as a Board of Ed member, you could sort of give us an overview of, how we got here. How did we get this wonderful grant?
Sure. Thank you for having us. I think it's important that we have good communication. This is a fantastic time for the Township of Clark. We have been awarded a 5-year grant for basically pre-K, 3 and 4-year-olds. So many questions are being asked. So many different things are being said. I want to give you an overview, and I'm going to start with basically 2009. The Board of Education had a vision of getting early childhood education in the pre-K into kindergarten. We were early pioneers to get full-day kindergarten in 2009. We had looked at a lot of different places, and we're proud that we have been doing this. In September, we'll be going into our 16th year of full-day kindergarten. One thing we lacked in the township was basically pre-K. The cost for parents is off the charts. This is a real serious situation of getting your children ready for the kindergarten years into grade 1 into 12, that we really looked to try to get something accomplished. I'm very happy and very thankful that Ed Grande and his team worked very hard to make this thing happen. We're one of the few in the state of New Jersey that got the grant. So I'm going to speak about a few things that I think you need to know. The most important thing in school environment, obviously, is the fact of safety, good education, and good, basically, morale of knowing we're in the right place. One of the things as a board member that we're really trying to improve is test scores. And it really starts in the very beginning. And now we have 5 years of pre-K free education. We can do the articulation from basically age 3 right into the 1st grade. Our curriculum is the Clark curriculum. Our basically planning of this, obviously we're in the pioneering stages. A lot of questions are being asked. We'll never improve test scores unless we start right from the beginning. All teachers in this basically grant are certified teachers from the state. We are basically working through this program to get our students a head start. And I believe this is where we're at. 15 students per classroom. We're in a situation where we're starting off with a lot of partners. Unfortunately, we do not have the room currently, but we are going to, in September, have more availability. We're going to have 4 classrooms potentially in Henley School. So that'll be 60 students, 15 per class, state law. Now, there's a lot of different things people are asking about, talking about, and I'm going to address a few of them before I turn this over. I'm excited because this is really an opportunity for parents who not are looking for childcare, they're looking for educational care. And having teachers, professional aides, having it from the educational standpoint to get young children to enjoy school, to enjoy the environment. Now, it's going to make some basically serious improvements as we go along, meaning we want all our children in the township of Clark. We don't want to outsource here, there, and everywhere, but we're going to have partners all the way through, meaning other programs that are out there that are going to help us. It's going to be purely overseen of the Clark Board of Education along with Ed Grande. I'm very thankful and happy that we're going to have this thing happen. And being it's happening immediately, we're going to be able to deliver a good product. In September, the numbers are going to really increase. I know some people have talked about 3 and 4-year-olds together. That's in a state grant. We're going to do everything in our power to keep 4-year-olds together, 3-year-olds together. So a lot of these different things that you're hearing, I think we're going to eventually have to address everything with all different needs from before care to after care. But the base of this program is spectacular. To know that we're going to be able to deliver a good product, certified staff under the curriculum and guidance of the Clark Board of Education with Mr. Grande as our superintendent. And he will take you through a lot of questions. But I'm delighted, and understanding the value of education being in it and knowing that we have the next piece in place, because you will see how children matriculate through. They're going to be in a situation, the next thing you know, they're in the middle school, high school, and on their way. Our goal in the Clark schools is to make the town and schools value, understand what education means, and be successful on that side of it. So I pretty much touched on a few things. I'm sure Mr. Grande will help along. So I'm going to kind of turn it over. And like I say, we are, besides lucky, excited about where we're going and what we're going to do with this program.
Well, thanks, Tom, for that wrap up. Ed, I am going to dig in now for some more detail on some of the things that Tom gave us at a high level.
And before we start, I'd
yeah.
just like to thank you for having us
Oh,
today.
sure.
And Mr. Lewis, thank you, because the entire board was supportive of this initiative, but Mr. Lewis, you in particular, throughout the grant writing process, put me into contact with people who proved invaluable to us actually obtaining this funding. And thank you for your support in all the scrimmaging.
I appreciate that. I do want to say one thing. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, basically, Laura Calaguire and Jill Curran, they were pioneers back when we wanted full-day kindergarten. Yeah. I know the work that they did, and this coming to fruition. This accomplishment is basically being completed by the whole team. The Board of Education's been fantastic, and I really believe, Ed, I know the work you did. So to me, I really think that's great, and there's a lot of good work ahead of us, but it's all going to pay off and all be successful, and the winners have to be the children.
Yeah,
thank you.
They will be. All right, so we've got a 5-year grant. We got that. I heard that part. So this is a 5-year grant, and it does include 3- and 4-year-old preschools.
Yes.
And it's a full-day program.
And can we talk a little bit about the 5 years?
Yeah, let's talk about that first.
So the state gives us 5 years to actually service all of our 3- and 4-year-olds.
Okay.
And when we submitted the grant, we had to submit a plan that over the course of the 5 years, this spring being year 1, by the completion of 5 years, all of our 3- and 4-year-olds would be served.
Okay.
Each year, we're going to be receiving additional funding to make that happen.
Okay.
That money will be baked into our state aid. And then at the completion of the 5 years, that money stays in the state aid so that we can continue to service our entire 3- and 4-year-old population.
Okay, that would have been one of my questions. Is that so? After 5 years, do we have to pick this up, or if everything is going as planned and the state is pleased with the work, I'm assuming they continue to?
Once you get that full amount,
Yep.
like you alluded to, they do their site visits, the state,
Right.
and if they're happy with what they see, that money stays baked in.
Perfect. Perfect. No doubts you'll be able to do that. Yeah. So this is open to all Clark children?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yep. 3 and 4. And then let's go back to what he was just talking about with the where the schools will be. So I'm hearing there's going to be partners. Let's be a little bit more specific about that. Now, we happen to be sitting in a municipal building, and I know there's a couple of preschool classes here.
Yes.
So obviously this is some of it, but that's not all of it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have our 2 classrooms here for January, thanks to the township and Mayor Bonacorso. we're going to be having an additional classroom at KinderCare on Terminal Avenue.
Okay.
And then we're also partnering for 4 or 5 classrooms with Discovery in Cranford
Okay.
for a total of somewhere between 7 and 8 classrooms for January 2025.
Okay.
And then next school year, we're looking to have some additional classrooms, hopefully 4 classrooms to serve 60 students at the Henley School.
Oh, nice. All right. So the fact that we're starting in January, no messing around. They gave you the grant, get to it.
Yep.
So you start in January, you've got a number of classrooms in multiple locations, and then you're adding more in September. So that tells me that we don't have enough seats for all kids yet, right? Is that what's going to happen?
So
Like how does,
great question.
yeah.
So part of the application this summer was we had to send out an interest survey.
Oh, okay.
And based on those results and who would be interested,
Mm-hmm.
we had seats for those students. Might not have been at their preference in terms of location, but there was a
Right.
seat set aside for those children
Okay.
for January.
All right.
And if parents declined, we were fortunate enough to open it up to students whose parents didn't complete the interest survey this
Okay.
summer.
Okay.
And we're excited because right now we're meeting our numbers.
Okay. All right. So, but we're not going to be able to see all of the kids yet. We still know there's others out there that we won't be able to get to just yet.
For next year,
But you have a plan already.
yes.
And that's awesome.
Yes.
All right. That's awesome. So we said KinderCare in Clark, Discovery in Cranford, and then of course here in this building as well. That's a lot of kids. This is exciting. And you said 15 kids per class?
15 per class. Yep.
Nice. And let's talk about the teachers in the class. So they're regular teachers. They're state
certified teachers.
Okay.
Pre-K to 3 certificate.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
And then and I heard you say something about the Clark curriculum. So the Board of Ed, not Ed Grande, the Board of Ed and the schools are the makers of the curriculum.
Yes.
Yes. And so it'll be the same. If I sent my kid here and you sent your kid to another school, they're all being taught the same things.
Yes.
Oh, cool. That's perfect. And so, because I was going to say, how do you provide that consistent experience across all of the schools? And it sounds like you've got that covered as well.
Yes.
So now, how about, do the teachers at those centers work for you, or do they work for the centers and you're sort of, like, how does that work?
Great question. So the teachers are actually hired by the sites.
Okay.
But they have to be state certified, just like our teachers,
Mm-hmm.
pre-K to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be trained, coached, and evaluated through our system.
Okay.
And held to the same standards.
Okay, that makes sense. And then, can you give us an idea of what the curriculum is for preschool? I mean, I hate to show my age, but my kids are out of preschool for a really long time. So what are we doing in preschool these days?
So the state gives us 4 models from which to draw. We're using as our basis, but making it Clark's own, the Tools of the Mind curriculum. And we use that behavioral approach in our early elementary classes at Henley and Valley Road School.
Oh,
And it
cool.
really focuses on students being able to self-regulate their behavior so that when they go into kindergarten, they have that mastered. And then there's also that academic, that social, that play component embedded into the cake mix, so to speak.
Okay. So, what do we mean by, I know it's open to 3 and 4-year-olds, and I heard you say as much as possible, we're going to try to keep 3s with 3s and 4s with 4s. Why sometimes do we cross them over? And does it really matter? Or is that just, us moms worrying?
So by the state, we have to have 15 students in a classroom.
Right.
So to be able to service as many of our families and children as possible, sometimes there'll need to be a mix of 3 and 4s. But at the preschool level, it's really more by calendar age than a specific. It's not like a grade level 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. It's more calendar age.
Right.
So we would try to put our younger 3-year-olds and then our older 3-year-olds when necessary with the 4-year-olds.
Oh, well, that's genius. That makes sense, of course. Yeah, because at that young age, sometimes the maturity difference can be amazing in 6 months. That's a great idea. I figured you had that figured out. So then, as this program continues going forward, is there a cap on the number of preschoolers we can have? Like, what if everybody just, I don't know, decides to have more kids in the next few years? Like, what do we?
That goes back to the question you asked in the beginning. Next year, we won't necessarily, there might be greater interest in available seats.
Okay.
But by the end of the 5 years, we'll have the funding for every student.
Every student.
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right, so it'd be a good problem to have, is what we're
Yes,
saying.
yes.
All right. Um, so if this is the first time a parent is hearing about this, what do they need to do now? Is there anything they could do now to try to get their kid on that list for September, or what do they need to do?
So this winter, early spring, registration form will come out, an interest form, I should say.
Yeah.
And then once we get that data, we'll compare that to age eligibility 3 and 4 and the number of available seats. And then we'll be communicating with the parents in terms of
Okay.
acceptance and site location.
Okay. And what would you think is the most exciting part of this whole endeavor so far?
Mr. Lewis spoke about test scores, and so much of what we do
Right.
is a lot of abstract work trying to get test scores up. And this is exciting because there's going to actually on January 13th be little bodies in seats,
Yeah.
and it's something you can see.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what's most exciting about it.
Yeah, it's a whole new thing.
Yep.
And Mr. Lewis, to your point, I remember when they were trying to get full day kindergarten, and the township was very excited about that. Everyone here, the residents, community, were really excited. We were one of the first towns in the area to get it. So to have this on top of it, I think is a huge feather in the hats
Well,
of
you know,
Board of Ed and of course the school system.
well, I think that we're going to have a few bumps in the road,
Of course.
but I believe that so many things are in place fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
But to get 3 and 4 year olds into an educational environment, to be able to socialize through education, to get into that regimentation where certified teachers, certified staff, this is not basically daycare, it's educational care.
Right.
And getting them in, to me, the trick is to get them to enjoy the school environment, to get them to want to go to school. And I really am excited for what's in front of us. Now, listen, there's some logistic problems of basically, well, I live here and I got to take my son or daughter there. I want everybody basically in the district, but I know we're going to have partnerships. We're working vigorously to put as many as we can in Henley, that it doesn't impede on any progress there. At Valley, to look, because to me, the vision building part, it's the next part, to have an early childhood center, to basically look at where our potential property is, to have that. These are the components that make a town very strong. It all goes with education. So to me, we want to invigorate the parents. We want them to see what we can do, but they're going to have to be patient.
Right.
And listen, I'd be enormously excited. I know the downside is, so now I have to drive to Cranford. For the moment, we're believe me, we're working hard to know that we're going to get 4 classrooms in Henley. And to me, if I had my way, I would want a facility that's ours. That's Clark Board of Education, where there's 200 students in an early childhood center. So to me, there's so much excitement that when you see a 3, 4-year-old, the first couple of days, it's rough and on its way. And the important thing from the Clark Board of Education is we have our curriculum, our standards,
Correct.
our philosophy. And obviously we're going to expand hiring more teachers in time, because the grant spends more money year by year. So when you really look and knowing what our superintendent and his staff and supervisors and directors are, we're going to have this for a long time. And eventually it'll be ours. But like I say, more than anything else, people in the township are tax poor. They're struggling. It's so many different things to go into it.
Sure.
To take that burden, if you have a 3 and a 2-year-old coming on the way, going through the process, there's just so many good things. Because what we're doing, that's the gratification of being on a board, to see these things come into fruition.
Yes.
And the easiest way to do is, well, we're never going to get it. Well, we were the only one in Union County that got it. And when everyone said about full day kindergarten, half day's not worth it. You still got to figure out where you go in the second half. 16 years in, I look back, and our president of our board, Steve Dunkersloot, these people have been basically trying to make it happen. And the deal is a team.
Yeah.
You don't win. No stars on the team.
Right.
We're a team. And you're here. Your kids have went through the Clark schools.
Mhm.
You've been a stakeholder. You help.
Mhm.
And my attitude is, I still believe this in our schools. The best is yet to come. Things that are going to happen haven't happened yet. And to me, it's about experience, about getting through that.
Right.
And to me, where we are now, a lot of work to do. There's so many questions that we can't answer,
Mhm.
but we're cracking the shell here to talk about it.
Mhm.
Because in the coming months, a lot of parents are going to be very anxious.
Mhm.
And we want to make sure that we have the right personnel, everybody working together. And obviously, I'm in the same boat. My kids have went through the schools.
Mhm.
I can't sit back and say, but it's really enjoyable when we get a chance to see it work, be able to go. And I just say this, I want to get everybody back in the township.
All right.
But in the township, meaning you might be outsourced to another program, but we run it, we see it.
Right.
So those are the things that when you think back, we couldn't do it, well, guess what we did?
Yeah.
And I'm going with the kindergarten thing, and you were part of that back then.
Yeah.
You remember those days.
Mhm. Mhm. It sounds very exciting. Tell me if there's some things I didn't ask about that maybe you want to mention, because I don't think of everything. So, anything else you want to mention that I didn't think about?
I just would like to thank our community, our parents, and especially our students,
Yeah.
because, like Mr. Lewis said, it's really a team effort to make something like this happen.
Mhm.
And it's just really an exciting time to be in the Clark schools.
All right. Well, I guess, that sort of wraps up the whole picture that there is something great on the horizon here. It's starting so soon, January, what did you say?
13th.
13th.
Yep.
13th.
Orientation on the 10th.
All right.
Yes.
And good luck with that orientation, all these
Yeah.
little kids.
Yep.
That's going to be exciting. So it's starting very soon. And in the spring, you'll be putting out another announcement and testing interest for other parents. They'll have the opportunity to respond then. So it is going to get bigger. There are going to be more classrooms next year at Henley, it sounds like, in September. I don't want to say next year because that's in a few weeks.
Yep.
In September. So this will continue to grow. And we've got certified teachers, and they are all under the tutelage of the Clark Public Schools, and they'll be coached and mentored and such and measured, I guess, by the schools. So this really seems like a comprehensive program, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. So maybe sometime down the road, we'll have to come visit you at the schools and see how it's going. We'll bring our cameras in,
We'd
we'll
love
take
that.
a look at how it's
Good.
going.
Yeah, and I think that's the next phase, to come in, visit, do a few tours to see how it's going. And probably my closing remark is this: we're all a team.
Mhm.
The parents, the children,
Yeah.
the Board of Education, the mayor, the council has been outstanding. We're using this facility for free. We have programs in. We're looking at classrooms to see where we could build.
Mhm.
So long as we stay as a team and a good team,
Mhm.
there's some enjoyable moments in front of us.
Yeah, and the kids win. And the kids win,
And the
right?
kids win.
That's our goal.
All right.
Yeah.
I really want to thank you so much for coming in today, both of you, and we'll talk again soon. And if anybody has any questions about anything we talked about today, what do we want to tell them to do? Where can they call or email or?
Phone, email, doors open, Clark Public Schools. We want to get your questions answered.
All right, perfect. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.